In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of the end. Should a look of childlike fear come over the worker's face, you will then be taken to a cell in the building. It will be in the deep, hidden section of the building. All you will hear is the sound of someone talking to themselves echoing the halls. It is in a language that you will not understand, but your very soul will feel unspeakable fear. Should the talking stop at any time, stop and quickly say aloud, "I'm just passing through. I wish to talk." If you still hear silence, flee. Leave. Do not stop for anything. Do not go home. Don't stay at an inn. Just keep moving and sleep where your body drops. You will know in the morning if you've escaped. If the voice in the hall comes back after you, continue uttering those words. Upon reaching the cell, all you will see is a windowless room with a person in the corner, speaking an unknown language and cradling something. The person will only respond to one question. What happens when they all come together? The person will then stare into your eyes and answer your question in horrifying detail. Many go mad in that very cell, some disappear soon after the meeting, and a few end their lives. But most do the worst thing and look upon the object in the person's hands. You will want to as well. Be warned that if you do, your death will be one of cruelty and unrelenting horror. Your death will be in that room, by that person's hands. That object is one of 538. They must never come together. Ever. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls herself the holder of the beginning. A small smile will work its way over the person's mouth, almost as if to say, "You fool." You will then be taken down a hallway, seemingly leading out into a place it shouldn't. Physically, this place shouldn't exist anywhere in the institution, yet it does. The hall will be forever silent, even if you try to make noise. Screams will die before leaving your mouth, and footsteps will be muffled. Your guide will simply point to the door. If you enter, you will find a cozy room full of a pleasant yet unidentifiable perfume. In the center of the room, you will see a beautiful woman holding her arms as if cradling something. Further inspection will reveal that she is, in fact, holding nothing at all. This room will remain just as silent as the hallway you just left, no matter how hard you try. The only exception is for you to ask one question. Why were they separated? The woman will then explain, in excruciating detail, every horrific event in history, every beating, every war, and every rape. No travesty in the history of the universe will escape your ears. When she finishes, all will fall silent. It is up to you to do what you will with this information. That woman is object 2 of 538. It is up to you if they should be joined or not. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of eternity. A sigh might escape the worker as they look upon you with the utmost pity. It will take you down a flight of stairs into what should be the basement of the building, yet isn't. As you press deeper and deeper into the underbelly of the institution, you will begin to hear a chorus of screams. At first, it will be barely audible, as if originating from a point a great distance away. But the closer you get to the end of the hallway, the louder it will become, until it drones so loudly that it seems to consume all other noises. Soon the din will become so painful that you will feel the unrelenting urge to claw at your own ears to escape it. It is advisable to resist this impulse, or else it will be impossible to complete your quest. The worker will show you a door, covering both their ears as they do so. As swiftly as they can, they will unlock the door and run, leaving you alone in this cramped, dark hallway. This will be your last chance to run. If you decide to continue, open the door. The piercing wail will then end abruptly, leaving your ears ringing. The room you will enter will be coated in an almost tangible, all-consuming darkness. All except for the far end of the room. There, manacled to the wall, is an emaciated figure, covered in raw lashes. He will stare directly at you, with a maniacal grin plastered to his face despite festering wounds and a scalpel still half protruding from his chest. Now will be your only chance to save yourself, and the only way is to ask, who created them? He will cackle in a manner befitting the death throes of an animal before responding. His will be the most horrific tale you have ever heard, beyond such primitive concepts as pain and death. It will delve deep into the very essence of evil. Those of weak mind go mad at the man's story, so remain strong, no matter how fragile your mind may feel. When he finishes, it will be up to you to end this man's life, releasing his terrible burden. Remove the scalpel and he will shudder once in agony before falling silent, forever. That scalpel is Object 3 of 538. It is up to you if the rest should be protected or destroyed. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls herself the holder of nothing. Should a look of sheer, primal disgust mar the worker's expression, you will be taken to a separate building, one that appears to be an old wooden outhouse. Inside will be a seemingly endless corridor, far, far longer than the length of the outhouse. The corridor will be completely silent. Attempting to make any sound at the wrong time is a grievous, lamentable, and terrible mistake. You will notice the lights in the corridor getting brighter and brighter as you make your way down towards the end. Soon you will be blinded by their brilliance. If at any point the lights go out, quickly shout out, "No! Stop! What you are doing is wrong!" while backing away. If the lights do not come back on, bolt for the door you came in through. It should still be open. Hopefully you aren't far enough down the hallway for it to close on you. If it does close, an eternity in hell would be far preferable to what you will suffer. If the lights come back on, continue walking down the corridor. At the end of the hall will lie a single cell. The worker will open the door for you while glaring at you in disgust. Inside the cell will be a mad pastiche of colors, arranged in several harlequin-like formations. You must not be distracted by them, for at the center of the room is a naked young woman, slathered in blood and bound by strips of human sinew. If you take your eyes off her, even for a moment, she will completely and totally destroy you. She will only respond to one question. What were they when they were one? She will then stare into your eyes and speak the answer in incredible detail. It will be unlike anything you have ever heard. You will be on the verge of both ecstasy and agony at her mere words. It is not uncommon for a seeker to lose themselves in a euphoria. The worst thing you can do, however, is look upon the tattoo on her chest. Your mind will tempt you to gaze upon it, but you must resist. If you do not and foolishly set eyes upon it, you will fall victim to her horrifying powers. She will flay you alive and add your mutilated flesh to her bindings, and you will remain trapped with her, fully conscious, for the rest of time. That tattoo is Object 4 of 538. They desire to be one again, but they mustn't. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, close your eyes and ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of light. You will be guided to a single door leading to a long, winding hallway. You will be told to open your eyes. The hallway will be pitch black, narrow enough only for you to feel the walls and move yourself forward. If, at any moment along the way, the hall is suddenly bathed in light, shut your eyes immediately and quickly make your way back to the door you came in through. If your eyes stay open for more than a second, what you see will force you to instinctively tear them out. If the lights stay off long enough for you to navigate the entire corridor, you will reach another door. If you can see any light escaping from the crack beneath the door, flee immediately, for what you seek is not there. If no light can be seen under the door, carefully turn the handle and enter. The room beyond will be completely dark aside from a single, dimly lit candle in the center. What little light it issues will reveal the outline of a cloaked figure huddled over it. The man underneath the cloak will seem to remain perfectly still. There is only one question that the man will respond to. What can protect us from them? Say anything else and the man will tear out your eyes and devour your soul. You will then be forced to take his place under the cloak for the rest of eternity. If you ask the above question, a piercing scream will ring out from the candle and a series of lights will illuminate the room, revealing images of the most horrifying thoughts, fantasies, and memories from all consciousness throughout history. Most people cannot handle this event. They will either go insane or die instantly. However, if you should somehow manage to survive the ordeal, the cloaked man will rise slowly and put his hands to your head. You will be forced to gaze upon his face. He looks like a young man, but his eyes are merely empty sockets. At this point, you must not look away, lest you be stranded in his room, forever forgotten in time. He will then open your hand and place a small, round object into your right hand. From this point on, you will feel no pain, unless you are in the process of obtaining another object, for the pain you feel then is nowhere close to normal. But the horrifying images you witness in that room will be burned into your memory for all eternity. The eye you hold in your hand is object 5 of 538. The awakening has begun. They must not be brought together. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls herself the holder of song. You will then be guided to a single door leading to a long, winding staircase. It will spiral higher than the building stands. At the top is a door that opens into a hallway. A sudden wave of heat will wash over you upon opening the door. Proceed down the hall. Eventually, you will feel much colder. You must then stand perfectly still and make no sound. If you hear a baby crying, turn and run. No harm will befall you, but the baby's cry will follow you wherever you go. If you hear it for the rest of your life, count yourself lucky. If and when it stops, your firstborn child will die. If there is no cry and the heat returns, proceed to the door at the end of the hall and open it. The room beyond will be awash in green light. In the center will be an old woman turning a music box that produces no sound. Her legs have both been severed at the knees. When you speak to her, you must look her in the eyes. She hides a spear fashioned from the bones of her legs. Break eye contact and she will impale you with it and leave you, in seemingly unending agony, to bleed to death. She will respond to only one question. What was the song they used to play? The old woman will begin to sing. The song will be in a different language, but the melody will be the most beautiful you have ever heard. Peace and serenity will wash over your mind, body, and soul. Suddenly, without warning you, you will be able to see, in vivid detail, the image of carefree children playing and singing, innocent as can be. Though the scene seems peaceful and jubilant, it will eventually take a horribly sinister turn. The children will begin to fight each other. Soon, they will start to kill each other in the most brutal ways imaginable. They will impale each other on wooden poles, disembowel each other with sharp rocks, and even rip flesh from bone with their bare hands. The image will then show these children, now merely tattered doppelgangers of themselves, spreading death and destruction more horrific than you could ever imagine. You will see a naked boy, drenched in blood, singing with delight as he runs through a hellish wasteland, pursued by unspeakable monsters. They will overtake him and utterly destroy him, the song still issuing forth from his shredded lips all the while. Despite these scenes of horror and brutality, you will remain calm and peaceful all the while, though you will not know why. When these horrific visions end, an intense pain will stab at your chest. Your heart will feel like it is about to explode. Still, you must not break eye contact with the old woman, for to do so would invite such horrors upon yourself that an exploding heart would be comparable to paradise. If you remain steadfast in your gaze, the pain will eventually cease. The woman will stand up, though you will not know how, and place the music box in your hands. The music box is object 6 of 538. When its song plays again, they will all come together. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of the path. The worker will try his best to keep a look of indifference on his face while handing you a key which, as he will explain, belongs to an unused supply closet in the building. If only it were that simple. Upon locating and unlocking the correct door, you will find a narrow, winding road suspended in an endless void. only occasionally disrupted by the massive outlines of things best left undescribed. To fall off the path is to be thrown out of reality itself. A nightmarish eternity of inconceivable horror awaits anyone who either stumbles into the void by their own error or is dragged off the path by the timeless monstrosities that reside on the outskirts of creation. If you should ever feel as if you are being watched while traveling through this piece of oblivion, the best chance you have is to immediately freeze in place and hold your breath. Continue to do so until either your audience loses interest or moves in to claim you. If the latter should occur, feel free to scream as hard as you want, though your screams will fall on deaf ears. Eventually the path will end at a door. Upon opening it, you will find a small, dirt-caked room. Propped up against the far wall will be a heavily emaciated corpse. What's left of its skin has long since blackened with necrosis. There will be nothing else unusual about it, unless you approach it and ask one question. How did they acquire guardians? If said line is spoken, the corpse will begin to stir. A subtle red glow will emanate from its eye sockets as it lifts its head and begins to whisper the long and macabre history of the holders. It will speak of unholy pacts and unspeakable atrocities. Within time, its tale will touch upon every form of evil known to man or god, and then a few more. Furthermore, if given the title of any holder, it will reveal its history and the meaning of the object that it protects. Well, almost any holder. You see, it will never go into detail about itself. This is because the ghoul hopes that its visitor will not question why it seems to be lacking an object. Truth be told, its object was somehow sealed inside its skull, and the ominous glow from within its eye sockets is actually the shining light of the object trapped inside. That is object 7 of 538. Its holder will do anything to keep you away from it. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of wealth. The worker will raise one eyebrow, as if puzzled by your request. Ask a second time, and the worker will shrug and take you across the street, where an opulent mansion awaits. This mansion was not there when you started your quest, but it's best that you not preoccupy yourself with the mansion's origin. Its owner would rather not scare you away. Inside the front door will lie a grand staircase, spiraling up across the foyer. The walls will be covered with fine paintings, and a large marble statue will rest on a pedestal by the base of the stairs. The statue's eldritch features will evoke an image of a truly horrific beast, at once both alien and evil. Admire it all you want, but don't touch it, unless you wish to awaken the starved monster. Ascend the staircase. As long as you touch nothing, you will be in no danger. Don't panic. At the top of the stairs will be a small, unassuming wooden door. It will open for you, so long as you are not afraid. You should see a man with a pointed goatee and short, cropped gelled hair standing behind a large desk of what will appear to be mahogany. His suit will appear to be made of both human flesh and Italian silk. He may speak, and at great length. He will talk about his amazingly beautiful house and the lovely statue of his concubine resting downstairs. Do not interrupt him, and do not answer any questions he may ask. When he is finished, steel yourself and confidently ask, "May I have my salary?" He will proceed to explain to you in great detail the value of life. He will talk of things worse than death, and he will tell you exactly what he expects you to do. The fabulous interior of the room will rot away, and the floor will turn from French weave to feces. His own appearance will become unimaginably cyclopean and horrendous. He will then fish out a small banknote from the inside of his human suit and hand it to you. That note is object 8 of 538. Its holder is counting on you to spend it. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of wisdom. The worker will chuckle, and you will be guided to an empty room. The worker will hand you a key and tell you to wait some time in the room until you hear a bell ring. Then you have to lock the door, wait until a second ring, and unlock it. It will open all by itself and reveal a long hallway, with all colors you may or may not know painted onto the walls, ceiling, and floor. Follow the hallway until you hear a little girl singing. Stop. Close your eyes and stay where you are until the girl finishes the song, even if you think that it will drive you mad. If you do move, run. Run back to the door where you came from, as fast as you can. Jump through the window of the room where you waited before and you might live. Should you be unable to reach the window in time, you will be dragged back into the hallway by something that is not a little girl. Hold by this horror until time itself ends, forever feeling the pain of every soul dragged to an early grave. If you do not move and the song ceases, you are free to turn around and leave forever, or walk deeper into the hallway until you reach the door in the shape of a human. Open this door with the same key that was given to you earlier. Walk inside and close it behind you. In the middle of the room, you will see a desk with a bright candle, and behind the desk will sit a man, with his face hidden by the shine of the candle. Walk closer, but always keep the flame between you and the man's face, for if you witness what he looks like, your gaze will be fixed on his until your hands have removed every inch of skin off your bones. Stop when you are 5 steps away from his desk. The man will raise his hand and gesture you to come closer, but do not step any further than this. Close your eyes and ask him one question, nothing else. Who will bring them back together? You will hear the man rising from his chair and he will begin to pray. It will be a language you will not understand at first, but after 2 minutes you will hear a name. Should you hear Anubis, then pray that your death will come quickly. If it is Thor you hear, you may open your eyes. The man's head will be on the desk, cut off of the body, but still talking. After another 3 minutes, he will stop and begin to tell you how you will die. He will describe every minute and every detail of your horrible death, and you will be unable to move for the length of it. Lastly, he will describe the one who will steal your life away from you, and go into such detail as to why it is necessary that you yourself will question which will be the worst, you being murdered, or you being allowed to continue to live. Finally, the man's head will stop talking. It is object 9 of 538. It is up to you what you will do with the knowledge of your death, for it now is inevitable. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit a man who calls himself the holder of ambition. The sound that escapes the mouth of the worker will be so slight and betray so little reaction that you may not be sure there is any reaction at all. They will lead you toward a stair that only travels upward and is lit by many windows. At the top of these stairs, the worker will leave you to travel the hallway alone, and the calm of the window-lit hallway will seem eerie and unsettling. Should you see a shadow travel along the wall, do not follow it, for it is the one thing that will lead you where you do not wish to go, to a place that you can't hope to return from, to a place of your own silent fears and failures. No matter what form it takes, how it teases and taunts your dreams with the greatest of your desires and hopes, do not even let your eyes tempt you to where it leads. If you make it to the end of the hallway without losing sight of your goal, you will see an open doorway with no locks, no bolts, and no restraints, waiting for you with a soft light. If you choose not to enter it, only walk directly back the way you came without attempting to peek around or into other doors, or you will meet the shadow and what it hides. Should you enter the doorway, you will find a room lit by windows that cover the entire lengths of every wall, too high to reach and shining with a light that seems far less natural than the sun and moon. In the center of the room will be a tall, healthy man, standing naked and looking out into the light. His body is covered in uncountable tattoos and scars, where none of his skin is recognizable as it once was, other than his face. Should you look where he looks, you will see nothing and learn nothing. He will react to no act or words other than to the question, what joins them together? The man will turn to look you in the eyes. Do not meet his gaze, or you will lose yourself in his soulless eyes for eternity, if you are not prepared. If you can meet his gaze without the slightest doubt of your intentions, he will begin to speak in a low tone, speaking almost as if his entire story is comical or means nothing at all. But you must not miss a word, for taking this knowledge partially could cause failure in the worst way possible. When he finishes speaking, he will reach for his chest and remove the remaining sutures from one of his most noticeable scars and begin to bleed profusely. While he slowly bleeds to death, he will reach out to you with his bloody sutures. His last words may be heard through his own gurgling blood. Choosing to seek leads to an inevitable fate. This group of sutures is object 10 of 538. How you use them depends on what you hear.